Welcome to the Real Healing Institute. My name is Michelle Sinclair, and today we are going to be talking about choosing peace over reaction and why you would want to do that. Now, what is real healing? It's not just curing symptoms, but it's actually just aligning with divine creative consciousness, meaning it is getting in alignment with the love which is in every single molecule of the universe. And when we don't see it there, it's purely because there is something within ourselves that needs to change, that needs to get in alignment with that love so that we can see it, because there's nowhere that it is not. Everything is the spirit. From my computer screen to the steering wheel in your vehicle, everything is the spirit. This is why, if certain things in your life happen to break down, these are not just happenstance, these are also spiritual messages. So why would we want to be choosing peace over reaction? Well, Christ Letters teaches us that what you reap as you sow. And so if you're going to be sowing seeds of, reaction to this or to that, you're going to have more circumstances and situations that will follow that will be similar and that will also bring those feelings to you. So this is why when you can get to that place of total peace and not have reactions and realize that other people's reactions to things and how people respond to you is based off of the past, perhaps things you programmed in the past and whatnot, and also things that they believe inside of them. And so when you realize that, most of the time people are just projecting on you, then it can be a lot more forgivable, right? Because when you understand, like, hey man, this actually ain't about me, then you're not going to have the same reaction. Here's an example. Let's say that I was to say to you, yeah, well, you're a taxi cab. You'd be like, what? I'm not a taxi cab. You wouldn't get upset about it if I called you a taxi cab, because you know that you're not, right? You just know you're not, and so that's ridiculous, and why would I get upset? It's very similar to if somebody was to project on you and say something that was totally ludicrous about you or about a situation. You're going to react like you're the taxi cab man, or you were called the taxi cab, and you're going to be like, yeah, it ain't like no big deal. However, what really gets us is when somebody says something to us and there is something that is unhealed within us surrounding that. Then not only are we going to have a reaction, but we're probably going to amp up what was sent to us in the first place. Now we've escalated a situation that's going to happen to us again in the future, and we have now planted something that we actually do not want. So sometimes, people will say something to us or accuse us of something, or, be projecting on us, throwing something our way. And through our reaction to it, not only does it amplify and make the situation even worse, but what it is really doing is it is bringing our attention, let's say that you do react in this way, it is bringing our attention to something inside of us that actually does need to be healed. Because if I call you a taxi cab and you're not a taxi cab, you're cool with it. But if I call you a taxi cab and you don't know that you're not a taxi cab and you haven't, come to terms with this, you're going to respond to it. What do you mean I'm not a taxi cab? You know what I'm saying? So let me give you a different example here. Let's say that I was to call you a liar and say, oh, you're a liar. And you're like, no, I'm not a liar, I'm not. But you were to freak out, right? And you're freaking out, why? Because you're defending yourself, right? So you're trying to push away what it is that I said. But if you were really secure within yourself and you know that you're not a liar, you might laugh if I called you that, because you know yourself. And so nobody's going to tell you who you are other than you, if you're really secure within yourself and you know yourself. So you're going to have a reaction like laughter, or you'll be calm, or you'll just think, well, that's ridiculous, or you'll whatever, but you will not get upset about it. You might be sad that the other person thinks this of you when it is not true, or something along those lines, but it's not going to get you upset and defensive. Whereas if somebody says, oh man, you're a liar, and you attack them, no, I'm not, whatever happens to me, maybe you are. Maybe there's some part inside of you that still hasn't awakened. Here's how you could know, and this is maybe an uncomfortable exercise. You might not like me for it, but that's okay. So this is how you figure it out. If you were to list your top pet peeves, what are your top pet peeves? You got a couple of them? You got several? What's your top pet peeves about character flaws or things like this? What you consider a character flaw in somebody else. So maybe you don't like jealous people. Maybe you don't like people who lie. Maybe you don't like people who take advantage of other people or who betray them. Well, I don't know, whatever. Pick the thing. And then so when you pick that thing, you're going to write it out as if it was you. So write it out like, oh, I don't like this, okay. Then you're going to claim yourself as that. You're going to say, I am a liar. I am a betrayer. I am whatever it is, the thing that, bothers you so much. Then you're going to rate that on a scale of 1 to 10. How much does that bother you saying that out loud, that you are claiming to be that thing that you believe that you aren't? How much does that bother you? So 10 would be, oh man, that like really friggin' bothers me. Like I don't even want to say it. It makes me super uncomfortable. And 0 would be, it doesn't bother me at all. So come up with the true, honest answer. This is an exercise only for you. Man, I can't read your mind. I don't even know what you're thinking about right now. So it doesn't matter. This is for you. How much does that bother you? Okay, now based on your answer, and if you haven't got it yet, pause me. Based on your answer, the more that it bothered you, the more that is actually true about you, and there is some unawareness that is within you. Maybe it was one time, maybe you lied about something one time, and it's still subconsciously truly bothering you. So when you read that, you're like, oh, that makes me uncomfortable. No, I'm not, and it maybe even makes you angry. But there is something in there that is unhealed, because if you really truly knew you weren't a liar, it would be laughable when you said it out loud, because you just know it's not true. And so when you come up with these answers, then you can do something about it. Look back on your life. Why did that bother you so much? Well, it bothered you so much because other people are showing you through you. They're just showing you. It's like every person in our life is mirroring something back to us. So when all of a sudden life changes and life shifts, and all of a sudden everybody that you're meeting in your life is this wonderful, happy, amazing person, that's you, baby. That's why you encounter this. And when you encounter people that aren't this, when you are in that heightened state, you can look at this too. You can look at this in different ways of, okay, well, first of all, it's not going to bother you if there's people surrounding you that aren't in that state. Even if they're throwing it, even if they're projecting on you, when you are in total alignment, you're actually going to have deep compassion for these people, and you are going to understand that they do not understand the universal laws, and therefore they are not operating within them, and therefore they are storing up for themselves massive, big, huge karma that is going to come into their life. It's coming to them and is going to harm them in the same way that they're putting harm out. And so you don't look at these people and judge them and think, oh, that loser, oh, that whatever, they're so stupid, and call people names and do things along those lines. No, you look at them and you think, man, they are a human that is suffering, that doesn't understand. And I wish that they could understand, because they could alleviate every ounce of suffering that they have in their life. But it's no longer going to bother you. It's no longer going to take you down. Now, there's cycles that happen in our life, right? If we have, let's say, exposed ourselves to a certain environment, and we've lived in this environment it totally depends. So if you are really in spiritual alignment, you're going to notice immediately, within the minute, within the hour, if you have exposed yourself to energies that are not conducive to the life that you are on the path with, to the one that you're wanting to live. You're going to know, because it's really going to throw you off balance. Whereas if you're not, maybe you're just not there yet, you haven't totally cleansed your consciousness, it's going to take a little bit more time. Maybe it'll take a day, maybe it'll take a week, maybe it'll take a couple of weeks, maybe it'll take a couple months, maybe it'll take a couple years. Totally depends where you're at. But whatever it is that is getting put out, it's going to return back to you. And so when you become very aware of these triggers and these things that you have reacted to in the past, then you can look at them more kindly, right? Because if you look at yourself with kind eyes, then that is going to change things. So why were you reacting to, this particular thing in the first place? When you can look at this and you can have compassion, and you can think, okay, so the reason why I exploded when this person said this to me was because they triggered this thing in the past. Maybe I've been accused of this in the past. Maybe that's really about them, and so that really bothered me, that they can't see themselves. Whatever it is, you're going to work yourself through whatever last situation that you had that you reacted to, and you're going to find out the why behind it, because until you understand the why and you clear it and you pull out the root, you're going to keep doing the same thing. You could talk yourself out of it. Okay, I'm not going to react to this. But the fact that you reacted means that there was a trigger there, means that there was a wounding there, means that you need to get to the root of it so that you can pull it out, so that you actually aren't talking yourself out, using your willpower to talk yourself out of something that you want to do, but that you're actually truly healing it so that you don't have that trigger anymore. You know, I did EMDR one time when I was going through things with my ex, and I was really traumatized from the betrayals, and it would really hit me. You know, I couldn't even watch TV shows. I couldn't even, all of the things that I couldn't do anymore because I would just get all these triggers and it like hit me. So like, you know, I'm deeply compassionate for my clients and the triggers that they have, because I know that they're physically manifested in the body and they actually can make you physically sick. Like it's a friggin' thing. So anyways, I go and I do this EMDR, which I would not recommend. But anyways, they're doing it. And the reason why I wouldn't recommend it is because you're clearing one issue, one particular trigger at a time. Whereas hypnotherapy, you could go in and you could clear 15 or 30 in one session and actually clear the root of the issue, not just reprogram your mind to think differently, which is why people are like, I've been doing EMDR for however many years. And I'm like, dude, you got to do something else then. You got to do something else, because that's totally unacceptable that you're still suffering and you've been going to someone for 2 years. This is why people come to me, and it's a few sessions that it takes. So if you're going to somebody and this is years that's been drawn out, you need to do something different. Something has to change. So anyways, this EMDR, it's reprogramming. And so it reprogrammed this one issue so that when I think of that one issue, I don't get triggered anymore. However, I come home and the dude tells me, so maybe this was because, you know, he planted it, or maybe this is a regular thing, I don't know. But he's like, you know, you might get home and you might have flashes of terror. I'm like, what? Would have been nice to have a pre-warning about this. Anyways, I then did. But they were so fast, you actually couldn't recall what it was. But it was actually a total feeling of terror. And I'm like, still at this point, you know, I just need to meditate on it and ask. I'm like, dude, what was that about? Like, how do you clear something and then all of a sudden you would have a flash of terror that would come up that you couldn't recall? Like, what an odd thing. This, you know, doesn't seem like the thing I wanted to do, especially not a couple years worth of it. Anywho, so when we're talking about reactions, right? Let's say that I was watching a show on TV and I then get triggered. Well, what could happen? You know, if I'm still upset with, you know, my partner, maybe I'm going to have some reaction and I'm going to, you know, like, how could you, you know, well, something like this, something along those lines. Do you want to be on the receiving end of that? Probably not. So what happens though in that situation, just going back to myself, is I have then not only allowed myself to be triggered, first of all, because I'm allowing myself to be around triggers, but they're coming up for a reason. But through my not healing that, I'm causing myself physical stress. It is causing a depletion and a breakdown of my body. And it is causing me to be in hell in that moment, and it is causing me to plant more of it, because you reap as you sow. Electromagnetism, it happens every time. There's no escaping it, that what you put out, you're going to get back. So if you have some kind of crazy reaction to something, which, you know, is just a trigger and it feels, you know, whatever, you can't help yourself, so you believe, and sometimes you really truly can't. The body's physically reacting. But what you can do is recognize when this happens, okay, there's a root of an issue that needs to be healed. This is why I made the mental cleanse series. You could go back, you could find in your subconscious mind where and when, and heal it and pull it out so that you don't have that issue anymore. Because then you're not going to be reacting. Because once you resolve that issue from that time when you were 5 years old and you lied, and you got, you know, some kid in trouble or something along these lines, and you're subconsciously feeling terrible about it, something that happened a million years ago, well, once you heal the root of that and you realize, like, oh, I've been holding this against myself for however long, once you heal that, if someone was to call you a liar, it's not going to bother you anymore. Second of all, they're not going to call you a liar anymore, because the only reason these things come up is because they come up to be healed, and everything is the spirit. So then these things stop coming up because we don't need them anymore. Because like I said, everything is the spirit. So we you know, did a retreat, and there was several people in this retreat that got triggered by other, you know, members in the retreat, like different things that were happening that, you know, brought back some part of them that, you know, was painful. And so through me working with these people, on the one-on-one, not only was the trigger healed, but it was the catalyst that allowed for them to pull in some type of power of theirs that they had not been using before. And so wouldn't that be really upsetting to you if you were experiencing something that was really upsetting, but really all that it was about was something that needed your attention, because something to do with that has to do with maybe your gift that you have while you're here that hasn't been fully pulled out yet, or that has to do with some part of you that almost has nothing to do with that trigger. But when we initially get triggered by something, we think, oh, it's this. But through my discovery of working with the amount of people that I have worked with, it's never that. It's never the thing that has triggered. There's always some underlying thing, and there's always some opportunity not only to heal it, but to actually pull more power into yourself that you didn't have before. It's like reclaiming it from a past life. It's reclaiming it from some part of you where maybe you gave it away as a child or something along those lines. Let's say that you have like an extraordinary gift, that you are extremely intuitive, and you used that gift as a child and you said something to somebody and it really triggered them and it caused them to bully you, right? Because you triggered something in them, like you called something out that was true, that how could you possibly have known this, and it triggered them and they were trying to hide that part of themselves, therefore you're bullied. Okay, well, what's going to happen in that situation? Are you going to go around as a little kid and keep telling people the things that are coming to you? Probably not, man. You're going to turn that off and you're going to think, this isn't safe for me to do this because I got bullied from it and it made me feel this way, and you're going to associate it with, I told this person this thing that came to me and then this was what happened. So you're going to stop trusting yourself along with that because, well, you had this thing come and you said it and you shouldn't have said it. Now I don't trust myself. What if that thing wasn't true? They responded like they were really triggered. So, it probably wasn't even true. Yeah, it probably was. Anyways, what's going to happen is you're going to turn that off as a kid. And then later when you grow up and you realize like, oh man, having spiritual gifts is pretty sweet, and you're wanting to turn that back on, you're going to have to heal that wound from childhood that it got turned off. And so we do some of these things as protection because we don't want to suffer in some way. But when we do this, we have then given our power away. We've given it to that person that had the reaction, said, oh, here's my energy, here's my power. No, yeah, you go ahead and keep that, and I'm just going to be quiet over here. And so when we heal that thing, when it finally comes back to us and we've resolved the issue, we pull more power into ourselves, and not only the amount that we had back then, but we pull that in plus the power it took to heal that situation, which is a lot, because you were carrying it for what, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 30 years, 20, however many, you were carrying it for a long time because this was a pretty big deal. It was a pretty big pain point that you then had to heal, but because you could do that, because you can do anything, because you can heal anything, to any reaction, all the things, because you can do that, it then gives you that much more power, and you can actually physically feel it. You reclaim that power back inside of you. And what a wonderful thing that is, not only for yourself, but for the people in your life, because you have a gift, and you know this, and you're supposed to be using that gift, and if you're not, then there is other people who will be suffering because of it. You walk down the street and you see somebody and you know something about them and you're like, oh, I just want to go tell that person that thing. Well, you know what? You're supposed to. And this is why it came to you, because everything is the spirit. If you weren't supposed to say something, you wouldn't have the information. And if you're afraid of that, and if you're like, oh, well, no, you got to ask people permission, you got to do this, do that, sure, go ahead, you can ask people permission, but I guarantee you they're going to say yes. And if that's the stumbling block of, oh, I don't want to go and ask, ooh, what an awkward thing, just go do it, man, because you're getting that information from the divine. Because the divine is like, hey, this dude over here needs to hear this thing. I know that you're spiritually minded and that you could provide that for them, and so they'll give you the information so you can go and give them the information. Because not everybody is intuitive like that. They just haven't developed that inside of themselves yet. Sorry, I hear my daughter's dog outside the room here whining at me. Anyways, so when we were having reactions, the best thing that we can be doing is choosing peace over reaction. And you could even be immediately thankful for the trigger, because it's going to teach you something, it's going to show you something. So let's say that something comes up, and something in the past where you would normally have a reaction comes up. Immediately take a breath and immediately just stop yourself and ask yourself, why is this coming up? Now, people will project on you. I have seen it 1,000,000,000%. Somebody literally accusing you of exactly what it is that they are doing. I've seen this 1,000,000 times. However, because you can be aware of this, of actually that's about you, and you can even call it out on that person. But because you can be aware of this, you don't need to react to that. You can say, okay, actually that's not about me, but did you notice this about yourself? And they might be like, okay, I see the thing. But you can respond calmly when you know it's not you. But if you were having the reaction or that need to defend yourself, follow that trigger in your body. Where do you feel it? Did it shoot you like a shot through the chest and the arms? Did it feel like, oh, I just got hit by something when that person accused you? Follow that trigger, follow that feeling. What memory comes up? Put yourself in a subconscious state, follow back what memory comes up. Why is that there? What is it teaching you? Where did you give your power away? Where do you need to call it back? What things do you believe about yourself now that you didn't believe about yourself before that happened? Because when you can look around and you can see the world how it's truly meant to be, meaning through the eyes of love, meaning you look at a tree and you're like, every leaf on there is made of love. That's why it's so beautiful. The bark on the tree is made of love. That's why it's so beautiful. If you were to touch it, you could feel it. It's just all made of love. When you can look around and you can do that with every object, everything, every person, every interaction, then you've made it. And until that point, there's just more work to do. And that's totally cool, man. You got your whole life. And so as you're working through these things, just be very compassionate and very kind to yourself. And so today what you could do is you could choose to know where you would have a reaction. Maybe even an immediate judgment about something, that you might look at something and be like, ugh, I don't like that, or oh, I don't want that, or oh, that's weird, or whatever it is. What is the immediate reaction that you have to things, and why do you have it? And what would you rather it be? And then when you get home, maybe take some notes, meditate on it, and then relieve yourself of that. Take your prayer to divine consciousness. Hey, divine, so today this happened. This person triggered me because this was going on. Please give me some insight on this, and then meditate and wait for your mind to give you the answers and to tell you what it is, where it's coming from, and how you can heal it. Because when you can go forward and then you are not reacting to anything, and instead you're reacting calmly, and you're planting just more seeds of love, you're going to harvest more seeds of love. And what a wonderful thing that is. So this is what I got for you guys here today. Hey, if you can join our spiritual recess, we call them Christ Light Circles, our spiritual recess. It's basically a place to come and uplift your spirit. Totally wonderful, so much fun. We do these online about 3 days a week right now. You can check out the schedule. It will be down at the bottom of the list below. Hope to see you there. These are live through Zoom. Love you guys. Take care. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.